Hello, you're so welcome to today's live show. I'm your host, Sarah Leather from theyre.com, and I am thrilled to be here today presenting what I know I'm always saying, that something or other is my very favorite topic. But I promise you what I'm talking about today is my very, very favoritist topic. I don't even know if favoritist is a word, but I kind of keep using it. So I am going to declare it a word. So I'm thrilled to be here. So what I'm talking about today is about managing objections, managing the things that people say to you on a sales consultation, and the things that we're taught by sales professionals how to overcome. So what I'm really talking about is the myth of overcoming objections. And you probably heard me say before that objections are just the start of the sales conversation. And so many women that I work with sort of rush past any kind of objections and just see them as absolute truth, and said like, oh no, it's not the right time for them, or they can't afford it, or their husband's told them they've signed up to too many things and they can't do it. So we're going to talk about what's really going on here. And this is not about discounting what anybody's saying. This is not about telling anybody that they're wrong, that they are that they're lying, basically. And a lot of people that teach sales, particularly the kind of more masculine, pushy, slightly more aggressive way of selling, would have you believing that people are basically telling lies and that you have to convince them otherwise. And that's not what we're talking about here. We are talking about a really wholehearted way of hearing your potential client. So the only intention on any sales conversation, is to get either a clear yes or a clear no. It's just as important to get a no as it is to get a yes, because your program might or might not be right for everybody who you present it to. A lot of this depends on the backstory, on how you've done your marketing and how aligned with you people are before they actually even get on a conversation with you. Maybe whether you've got a form or not where you can see a little bit about them, how you've got this lead from somewhere, and how much have you nurtured this lead, and how much have you kind of pre-selected people before they get on a call. And I would always say, when you're new to business, you get on a call with anyone who will speak to you, get on a call with them, and just, really get very clear on whether your program's right or not for them. If it isn't, well, then you don't even offer your thing to them. If it really isn't the right thing, you tell them to, come to your next free workshop, or some other way that will help them, maybe send them some stuff, or you might even want to refer them to somebody else if that's the best thing for them. And that's not a way of letting you off the hook from actually doing the selling. That is if somebody clearly is not a right client and you really don't believe you're in a good position to help them from getting from where they're stuck to where they want to go to. So a clear yes or a clear no. A clear no is not a bad thing. It is to be celebrated as much as a clear yes. Yes, everybody would like to have a sale. Everybody loves to make money. I mean, that's what we're in business for in the first place, isn't it? It's the whole intention of a business. So there's nothing wrong with saying, I want to make money, I want to get sales. But you want sales from the right people that are at the right stage on their journey that you can absolutely help them with. So there is nothing to overcome. So when it comes to overcoming objections, there really is nothing to overcome. You just need to basically show your ideal client, your potential client that's here on the phone with you, what their thinking is creating for them. So I always like to look at this in a way of, how can you take a stand for this person? And we're just going to call them your client, because I think once somebody's on a sales conversation with you, calling them a client is not inappropriate. It's much easier. So if you were to really take a stand for them, when you've been through your process of seeing where they are now, seeing where they want to get to, seeing what's in their way, seeing what you at what they believe they need, and then if you believe your program is the right thing, and then you show them, you ask their permission to, like, I have something that I think would really help you. Is it okay if I share that with you? And they go, yeah, sure, share me, share everything with me. And you tell them about your program, and you probably share the price, and then you might say, what do you think? Or does this sound like something that might help you? Or whatever it is that you say. And that's when the objections come out. When they might say, like, oh, it sounds amazing, but I'm too busy right now. Or that sounds perfect. I would really love to do that. I'm going to pop it in my list for next year. Will you get back to me next year? Or I have to check with my husband. And to be honest, he's told me no more programs this year. Or he says to me, Sally, you've done all the programs already. And you need to just work on those first. So I know he's going to say that, but thanks so much. Will you just send me on a few details? That's what they often say. Will you just send me on a few details and I'll take a look at them? I'm sort of really snowed under at the moment, and I've got some time on the weekend, so I'll sit with it on the weekend and get back to you next week. Is that okay? They're like, and it's so easy to think, like, that sounds totally legitimate. That sounds understandable. Yep, that's what I do myself, and then I have time to think about it and time to reflect on it. But is that really taking a stand for your client? Because they're coming out with all of these reasons that they're not going to sign up right now on the phone, and that they just want to run away. And it can be really tempting, particularly when you're new to sales, to just have that relief of getting off the call and thinking, like, oh, I'll just now sit and cross my fingers and hopefully they'll come back and say, and you check your emails every 5 minutes for them to come back and say, and you haven't even made any agreement with them about when they will get back to you or when you'll check in with them again, but you're just wishing and hoping and praying and obsessing quite often to know, because you're like, you can feel the alignment. You feel like we were an amazing fit. That they are my dream client. This is what I hear all the time. They're my dream client. If they're your dream client, they should be signed up on the phone and very often paid, depending on what your process is. You can take payment on the phone, or you can send them an invoice and make an agreement to when they're going to pay. And this wishing and wanting and keeping everything crossed is so hard on yourself. Who can relate to this? I'd love to hear from you. Who can relate to this, just like white knuckling and just keeping everything crossed, waiting for them to come back and say, yes, how do I pay you? And then nothing happens. And 3 weeks go by, you're like, should I follow up? Should I say, like, they said they were really interested? So I'd love to know your thoughts here. Because if you are really taking a stand for your client and they just want to do the bolting out the door really quickly and say, send me on the stuff, I'm really busy, whatever they're saying to you. If you are really taking a stand for your client and you really wanted to be of service to them and you seriously wanted to help them to get from where they are now to where they want to go, and you can help them with your process, then do you let them go? Do you just go like, yeah, sure, get back to me sometime, one day, maybe? Or do you say, like, yep, I can really hear, I get it, I really, really get it. I have been there. Believe me, I've been there, if you have been there. If not, I've so many clients that have been in a similar situation to this. And then you just really hold the space for them to explore whatever it is the objection is. And this is why the objection is the beginning of the sales conversation. They're not objecting to your program. They're not objecting to the price, how many calls were involved, all the details. Very, very rarely. They are usually objecting on a whole other level. And by you letting them go and say, yep, let's check in next week, you are not helping them in any shape or form. So it really is about showing them how they are actually making a decision and showing them the actual truth of what's going on. And this isn't about blaming them for thinking a certain way or anything. It's about really having an exploration with them. And this is the most beautiful, exquisite thing to bear witness to. to actually facilitate for your client. This is how you can be of the most incredible service to your client. So if they have what I call a wholehearted yes, it's like they get a little feeling inside their chest, like a little bell ringing or something when they hear about your program and they've been speaking to you and you've really explored with them about how you can help, and they know this is what I want, and you feel it, and they feel it, this is right, and that's where you feel the alignment and everything. And then if you have that and then they come out with, it really is really busy right now, or my cash flow is really at such a low point, and I know my car's going to need work done to it soon, so I'll get back to you in a couple of months, okay? And they go, they will just look for some kind of out. And, they may say it's the price. And sometimes it is. Sometimes. They may say it's time. And sometimes it is. I mean, a mother with maybe newborn triplets, they do not have time to build a business. I know that. But just sometimes it is. They may say it's their partner, and sometimes that is a problem, but only sometimes, very, very rarely. In fact, most of the time, it's them and their thinking that is the problem. And we don't go and tell them they're wrong in what they're thinking. What they're thinking is their thoughts, and totally feels so true to them. It feels so true because I know I've been there. And I know how easy it is to say, oh, that's out of my price range. No, I've invested, even at multiple six figures. I still sometimes say that, and then go and sign up for something for twice the price the next week when I feel that complete alignment, or there's just something different. So if they really want it and they're coming up with all of the time, money, partner excuses, they're the big three, they're the classic ones. There's plenty more. Let me know if there's others that you hear all the time. Sometimes what it is something that you're objecting to yourself. This is one way of looking to it. So if you're getting a lot of price objections, is there anywhere in your life where you need to clean up those kind of objections? I don't mean you have to go out and spend loads of money, but is there any way where that you're not investing maybe in yourself or your business, that you're waiting until a certain time before you spend a certain amount of money on investing in your business? Or maybe you work in health and you're hearing a lot of objections about your price of your program. And are you investing in your health? Have you done so? It's sometimes there is something like that. Sometimes, not always, but just sometimes. They may not be 100% sure on the value. And this has happened to me several times when I've been on sales conversations. I only ever book a sales consult if I'm seriously considering buying what's on offer. But I know people in the earlier stages of business very often don't even know what a sales consult is, or how it's framed. So they may not be really thinking about buying something, but if they really see the value in it and it's their number one priority at the moment, they will very often invest. So that can be a problem. Sometimes you just haven't articulated the value. I'm sure the value is there. Or maybe you need to layer in some more value without overburdening them, or overwhelming them. How else can you, what's missing? If you can find the missing pieces, it's very rarely something even really tangible. But really hear your client on what may make a difference to them. So it might be that there are some kind of gaps in the value. There's this value gap there for them, and they don't see the alignment between the value you're offering and the price tag you're offering it at. And it just may be their mindset around money as well. And sometimes they just don't value it at that. Like some people will always have a new car. They'll always spend maybe 30, 50, 70,000 on a new car every few years. Whereas other people that may have just as much money available to them that never buy a new car because they don't see the value in a brand new car. They prefer some kind of used car. And I've never bought a brand new car. I always get a really good used car, a just used, just used. That's what I value when it comes to cars. My cars are driven. My car now is not outside my house. My son's car broke down yesterday, so he's driven my car to the other end of the country for a few days while his car is being fixed. So I do not value having a really high-end car, but that's that we all make our own decisions when it comes to investing. When people have a problem, they will invest in line with how they value things. So it's not personal. It's never personal. But sometimes it can be they don't quite see the value in it. They don't quite see the value in spending that kind of money on a particular thing. They might not 100% believe that your program is going to get them the results that they really crave. And that more often not is just a way that you're articulating it, where you're sort of showing them when you are selling it what all the layers of value are in it for them, what a difference it's going to make to their life. So sometimes you've just got to do more work on actually being able to sell, because that's a whole thing in itself. We're not born knowing how to sell. We're not taught usually how to sell when we're growing up. It is something we all have to learn. So it's one of my favourite things to teach. My very favoritist things to teach my clients is actually how to sell in a really wholehearted way, of deeply hearing your client and knowing what they want and being able to offer to them in a way that they will see the incredible value of it. So, yeah, it may be any of those things that I've been speaking about, but more often than not, there's one other thing going on. There's something else that's happening with them that when you're inexperienced at selling, or you haven't been taught how to sell properly, you might not even spot. And you may just let them go. You may believe their stories about not enough time, not enough money, husband won't support me, or whatever it is, whatever story they're telling you is the absolute truth. It's often that they just don't believe enough in themselves to have the ability to get the value from your program. You can often spot this because they'll talk about all the other programs they've already invested in, all the money they've already spent, and they just need to go back and use what they've got. So you can just hear them on that, really, really hear them on that. Yeah, I hear you. Done the same thing. Yeah, totally done the same thing. They will layer in all the evidence. Oh, I bought this program, and yeah, they were good and everything, but I've got so much I haven't done with that. And it sounds like your program might be a little bit similar. So I think the best thing is if it's going to do that, and then I'll come back to you when I finish that. Or I'm working with somebody else on my mindset. I'm working with somebody else on this. So I'll just stay with them for a while. So they have all this evidence about why it's not been working for them. But really, they're just scared. They just feel so full of fear of making the wrong decision. They're so full of fear about investing again and not getting the return of their investment, because they're just not backing themselves. They're not believing fully enough in themselves to actually receive this, to receive it like a gift that they're paying for, and actually do the work. And that's your work, to show them how this is different. You are different, that you're not going to let them run away this time. You're not going to let them hide. And maybe this is a time to really emphasize about maybe some accountability or some check-ins or something that's going to make it really clear that it is going to be different this time, and tell them how they deserve. They really deserve to have this if this is what they desire. They really do. And that, yeah, we've all made investments. We've invested in the wrong cars or the wrong things that have cost maybe a lot of money, and we just have to kind of like put them to the past where they belong. Those stories are in the past, and they need to stay in the past. And really, it's time to just, when you come across something that you know is the right thing, the time is right for it. And everybody says the future will be a better time, every single person. And that's why I incentivize around price. My prices are always being nudged up. And that really helps somebody without without manipulating anybody or anything. It really helps people to make a decision. Whatever you can do to help them to make a decision now. And you'll hear it and you'll feel it with your client. You'll absolutely feel it. And you can just totally help them to see how their belief can change. They can do this. They do deserve this. And it's time. It's time to do it now. And you can say things, and it could be construed as sort of calling their bluff on it, but sometimes it can really help them to say, like, yep, sounds like it's not the right time. Sounds like this isn't the right program for you. That's absolutely fine. I know it would help you, but if that's how you feel, no problem. No problem. Wishing you all the very best. And then they sometimes I don't do that very often, but there are times when they're so fixated on convincing me why it's not the right time and why the price is too much and why they say, yep, totally. And and sometimes they'll go like, oh, no, don't go away. Don't tell me more. Tell me about this bit again. Because I just say, like, have you got any questions before we go? And they go like, just tell me this again. And I'm like, it sounds like you kind of do want it. And they will just then relax then and tell, of course, it's fine to laugh, to cry, to anything on a sales consult with them. It's more them than you, more your client than yourself. But it really is. Sometimes you need to just have a little bit of humor, or just to let them go with love at times. But I want you all to completely see how different sales can be for you. And that's why, like, I've got probably around 80% conversion rate, about 80% of the people I speak to about my program. Now, the program is amazing. That really helps, but I'm sure your program's amazing too. And usually when people get on the phone to speak to me about it, they have heard me talking about it, or they've looked on my website and read about it, and they've listened to many of my live trainings and live shows. So they've already kind of decided I'm the right person for them. And over 80% of the time, they come up with one-time money, partner, whatever objections, and I don't get caught up into their story. I leave that it's their story in their mind, and that there's another way of looking at it. Like another thing that you can say, like, what inspired you to book this call today? What was speaking to you, or what was it about where you need help that really inspired you? And is that still true for you now? What you said to me at the beginning of the call about this and this, is this still true? Because they just do such a great job at convincing themselves that it's really not the right time to work on this. When at the beginning of the call, like maybe 20 minutes beforehand, it was do or die. They have had to just make changes right now. So I'd love to hear from you about where you sit with overcoming objections. No, there's nothing to overcome. You just have to hold them, really. Hold them and let them know that there is help here. If they're courageous enough to hold their hand up and step forward, you will help them along the way. And it really can be the most beautiful process if you allow it to be. And don't worry if it gets a bit messy. Don't worry if you completely mess up and say the wrong things. I'm always telling my clients this, that some of my worst sales calls, where I just did everything wrong and it was just all a big hot mess, turned into wholehearted yeses. They were just like, yep, this is what I want. I'm like, oh my God, I can't believe that. And they've turned into the most wonderful clients as well. So, your only job is to guide them to a wholehearted yes or a wholehearted no. And don't let them go with a maybe. There's no wholehearted maybe. It's the maybe means they're in some kind of confusion about something. So explore what that is. What is it they need to think about? What is the bit that they still need clarity on? And get clear on that. And yes, some people are processors and they need maybe 24, 48 hours to think about it, but make sure they've got all the information first. Don't let them just bolt at the first sign of an objection which does not need to be overcome, but it does need to be explored like it's the real start of the conversation. So I'm going to be talking about wholehearted selling a whole lot more on the next, the one-to-many method virtual retreat happening next week. So make sure you're in the room for it, and pop along to my website, along to theyre.com/retreat, and make sure you're signed up to get your guidebook, to get all the great bits and pieces that go with it, to get the Zoom link so you can hop on all the calls, and I would love, love, love to have you there. So for now, I want to hear, let me know too, what's coming up for you around objections. Is there really anything to overcome? Okay, bye for now. Lots of love.